What happens when humanity shows up to peace talks fully armed, ready for war instead of dialogue? You won't believe how this bold move sparks a chain reaction that could either save the galaxy or destroy it. The moment their true intentions were revealed, everything changed. The asteroid known as Viridian 7 floated silently in the void, its surface pockmarked by centuries of cosmic debris. It was here, in this desolate expanse, that the fate of two civilizations would be decided. The air inside the negotiation chamber crackled with electricity, both literal and metaphorical. The humans entered first, their boots echoing against the cold steel floor. Each member of the delegation carried themselves with military precision, their weapons gleaming under the harsh artificial lights. The message was clear. They were not here to surrender. As the alien delegation arrived, whispers rippled through the room. Their forms were unlike anything most humans had ever seen. Some stood tall and slender, their limbs elongated like branches reaching for sunlight. Others were hulking masses of muscle and sinew, their skin shimmering with iridescent hues. They moved with a grace that belied their imposing presence, yet their expressions betrayed unease. When the golden-skinned leader stepped forward, his voice boomed across the chamber. "You bring weapons to a table meant for words," he accused, his tone laced with disdain. The human commander, a man named General Marcus Kane, smirked. His reputation preceded him, a hardened warrior who had led countless battles against the aliens. "Words are cheap," he retorted. "Actions speak louder." The tension in the room thickened, almost suffocating. This was no ordinary meeting. It was a powder keg waiting to explode. And yet, there was something else in the air, a flicker of curiosity. Why had the humans chosen such a provocative approach? What did they know that the aliens didn't? We only just scratched the surface of this story, but trust me, things are about to get even more intense. Stay with us if you want to uncover the truth behind this audacious move. The interpreter, Elena Voss, stood frozen between the two factions. Her heart pounded in her chest as she watched the standoff unfold. She had trained for years to master the art of communication, learning the nuances of both human and alien languages. But nothing could have prepared her for this moment. As the verbal sparring continued, she realized that mere translation wouldn't suffice. These beings needed more than words, they needed understanding. Elena cleared her throat, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. "Perhaps," she ventured, "we're focusing too much on our differences and not enough on our shared struggles." Her statement caught everyone off guard. For a brief moment, the room fell silent. The alien leader tilted his head, studying her with piercing eyes that seemed to see straight into her soul. "Explain," he commanded. Taking a deep breath, Elena recounted stories she had heard during her travels. Tales of loss, resilience, and hope. She spoke of villages destroyed by orbital bombardments, of families torn apart by war, of children growing up without knowing peace. Her words struck a chord, resonating with both sides. Slowly, the animosity in the room began to wane, replaced by a somber acknowledgement of their shared pain. But just as progress seemed within reach, a sudden interruption shattered the fragile calm. An alarm blared, red lights flashing across the chamber. Someone or something had breached the asteroid's defenses. Panic spread like wildfire, and the delicate balance Elena had worked so hard to establish teetered on the edge of collapse. What happened next would test the resolve of every being present. We've barely begun to unravel the layers of this story, but already, the stakes are sky high. Don't look away now. This is where the real drama begins. Chaos erupted as the alarm screamed its warning. The humans instinctively formed a defensive perimeter, their weapons raised and ready. The aliens, though less overtly militaristic, displayed their own brand of readiness, their movements fluid and calculated. Elena found herself caught in the middle, her mind racing to comprehend the situation. Had one side betrayed the other, or was this an external threat targeting them all? General Kane barked orders, his voice cutting through the din. Secure the perimeter. Find out what triggered the alarm. Meanwhile, the alien leader conferred with his advisors, their guttural language unintelligible to the humans. Despite the rising tension, Elena noticed something peculiar. The aliens weren't arming themselves. Instead, they appeared to be scanning the area, their glowing eyes darting back and forth. A sharp crackling sound drew everyone's attention to the far end of the chamber. A section of the wall had been breached, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Shadows danced along the edges, hinting at movement. Without hesitation, Kane signaled for his team to investigate. But before they could act, a figure emerged from the darkness, a humanoid silhouette draped in tattered robes. Its face was obscured, but its presence radiated authority. "I am Envoy ZYX," the figure announced, its voice modulated and mechanical. "I represent neither your kind nor theirs. I am here to deliver a message." The announcement sent ripples of uncertainty through the crowd. Who was this mysterious envoy, and why had they chosen this moment to intervene? As ZYX stepped closer, the gravity of the situation became painfully clear. Envoy ZYX's arrival transformed the dynamics of the gathering. With measured steps, the robed figure approached the center of the chamber, its mechanical voice resonating ominously. "Your petty squabbles pale in comparison to the storm approaching," ZYX declared, pausing for effect. "A force greater than either of you has set its sights on this region of space. If you do not unite, extinction will be your shared destiny." The proclamation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Questions erupted simultaneously from both sides. What force? How imminent was the threat? And most importantly, why hadn't anyone detected it before? ZYX raised a gauntlet hand, silencing the clamor. "Details are irrelevant at this juncture. What matters is action. You must decide now whether to stand together or fall separately." For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of ZYX's words settled heavily upon them, forcing introspection. Even General Kane, whose stoic demeanor rarely faltered, looked troubled. He exchanged glances with his subordinates, their unspoken dialogue conveying uncertainty. On the alien side, murmurs of dissent gave way to contemplative silence. The golden-skinned leader finally broke the spell, addressing Kane directly. "If what this envoy says is true, then our quarrel is meaningless." Kane hesitated, his jaw tightening. Admitting vulnerability went against every fiber of his being. Yet the logic was undeniable. If an existential threat loomed, internal divisions would only hasten their demise. Reluctantly, he nodded. "Very well. Let's hear the rest of your message, envoy." ZYX unveiled a holographic projection, displaying images of a massive fleet advancing through the stars. The sight was chilling. An armada unlike any they had encountered, bristling with weaponry and emitting an aura of malevolence. As the hologram faded, a collective gasp filled the chamber. The enormity of the challenge ahead was sobering, but it also ignited a spark of determination. Perhaps unity wasn't just idealistic rhetoric, it was survival. With the revelation of the encroaching fleet, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Gone were the posturing and hostility. In their place stood a tentative alliance forged by necessity. Both delegations convened around the holographic display, analyzing the data provided by Envoy ZYX. The humans brought their tactical expertise to the table, while the aliens contributed insights into interstellar navigation and energy signatures. For the first time, cooperation felt natural rather than forced. Elena played a crucial role in facilitating the exchange, her linguistic skills bridging gaps that technology alone couldn't overcome. She translated technical jargon, clarified ambiguities, and occasionally interjected with suggestions of her own. Her efforts earned her respect from both sides, transforming her from a mere interpreter into a vital mediator. However, not everyone embraced the newfound camaraderie. Among the human ranks, whispers of skepticism circulated. Some officers questioned the authenticity of ZYX's claims, suspecting a ruse designed to manipulate them. Others expressed doubts about trusting the aliens, citing past betrayals. Similar sentiments brewed among the alien delegation, where traditionalists viewed collaboration with humans as a betrayal of their heritage. Amidst this internal turmoil, the golden-skinned leader, identified as Commander Thaler, proposed a bold plan. "We cannot rely solely on projections and assumptions," he stated. "We need reconnaissance. A small team must venture into enemy territory to gather intelligence." The suggestion sparked heated debate, with arguments ranging from logistical feasibility to personal risk. Ultimately, consensus emerged, a joint mission comprising members from both factions. General Kane volunteered himself, unwilling to delegate such a critical task. Commander Thaler matched his commitment, selecting a trusted lieutenant to accompany the general. Elena, sensing the importance of maintaining open communication, insisted on joining the expedition. Her inclusion raised eyebrows but ultimately garnered approval. As preparations commenced, anticipation mingled with dread. The outcome of this mission would determine the course of history. Are you ready for what comes next? Because this is where everything changes. The reconnaissance mission launched under the cover of darkness, with the small team departing aboard a sleek, hybrid vessel designed to evade detection. The craft hummed softly as it navigated the asteroid's gravitational pull, its engines emitting a faint blue glow that dissolved into the void. Inside, the tension was palpable. General Kane sat stoically in the command seat, his hands gripping the controls with practiced precision. Beside him, Commander Thaler's lieutenant, a wiry alien named Vela, monitored the navigation systems, her luminous eyes flickering across the holographic interface. Elena occupied a smaller console near the rear, her role less technical but no less critical. She served as the bridge between Kane and Vela, ensuring their communication remained clear despite the cultural and linguistic barriers. Her presence also acted as a stabilizing force, reminding the others of the fragile alliance they represented. Yet, even she couldn't quell the unease simmering beneath the surface. As they approached the coordinates provided by Envoy ZYX, the ship's sensors began picking up faint energy signatures. The readings were erratic, suggesting cloaking technology or some form of advanced shielding. "They're masking their presence," Vela muttered, her voice tinged with frustration. "We'll need to get closer." Kane nodded grimly, adjusting the trajectory. His instincts screamed caution, but time was not on their side. Every second wasted increased the likelihood of discovery and failure. The stakes were impossibly high, and the pressure weighed heavily on each member of the crew. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently as an unseen force latched onto it. Alarms blared, and warning lights bathed the interior in crimson hues. "Tractor beam!" Vela exclaimed, her fingers flying over the controls in a desperate attempt to break free. Kane's jaw clenched as he wrestled with the thrusters, his muscles straining against the resistance. For a moment it seemed futile, but then, with a jolt, the ship broke loose, hurtling forward into open space. "What the hell was that?" Kane demanded, his voice sharp with adrenaline. Elena leaned forward, her eyes wide with concern. "Are we compromised?" Vela didn't answer immediately, her focus entirely on the sensor readings. When she finally spoke, her tone was grave. "No, but something's out there, watching us." The revelation that they were being watched sent a chill through the cramped confines of the ship. Each crew member processed the information differently. Kane's mind raced with tactical scenarios, calculating probabilities and contingencies. Vela, ever analytical, focused on deciphering the nature of the mysterious observer. Elena, meanwhile, felt a creeping sense of dread, an intuition that danger lurked just beyond the edge of perception. "We can't turn back now," Kane stated firmly, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped the controls. If we retreat, we lose our chance to gather intel, and possibly our only shot at survival. Vela nodded in agreement, though her expression betrayed skepticism. Agreed, but we must proceed with caution. Whatever is out there, it's far more advanced than we anticipated. Elena chimed in, her voice steady despite her nerves. Maybe that's why ZYX warned us. This isn't just about numbers or firepower. It's about understanding what we're dealing with. Her words resonated with the others, prompting a brief but meaningful exchange. For the first time, Kane and Vela shared a look of mutual respect, acknowledging the gravity of their shared mission. It wasn't camaraderie, not yet, but it was a start. As they crept closer to the source of the energy signatures, the ship's sensors detected anomalies within the surrounding space. Patches of distorted light suggested temporal fluctuations, while strange gravitational waves hinted at artificial manipulation. "This doesn't feel natural," Vela murmured, her voice barely audible over the hum of the engines. "No kidding," Kane replied dryly. "Feels like walking into a damn trap." Despite his sarcasm, there was no denying the truth in his words. Every instinct screamed that they were venturing deeper into enemy territory, and the odds were stacked against them. Yet there was no turning back. Not now. The ship drifted silently toward a massive structure looming ahead, a colossal construct that defied conventional design. Its surface shimmered with iridescent patterns, shifting colors like an oil slick under sunlight. Towering spires rose from its base, twisting skyward in impossible geometries. At its core pulsed a radiant orb, casting an eerie glow that illuminated the surrounding void. "Is that their flagship?" Elena whispered, her voice trembling with awe. Vela shook her head slowly. "I don't think so. This is something else entirely. A nexus, perhaps, or a weapon." Kane narrowed his eyes, studying the structure through the viewport. "Whatever it is, it's big enough to wipe us out 10 times over." The trio exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier resolve tested by the sheer scale of the unknown. Deciding to gather more data before making contact, they activated the ship's stealth systems and circled the construct at a safe distance. As they did, the sensors picked up faint transmissions, garbled signals that seemed to carry fragments of language. Elena leaned closer to her console, attempting to isolate the audio. After several minutes of adjustment, she managed to filter out some coherent phrases. "Harvest, convergence, cleanse. What does it mean?" Kane asked, his tone clipped. "I'm not sure," Elena admitted, "but it sounds ominous, like they're preparing for something catastrophic." Before anyone could respond, the ship's proximity alarms blared again. A swarm of smaller vessels emerged from the construct, encircling them like predators closing in on prey. Their sleek designs and pulsating energy cores marked them as part of the same enigmatic fleet. "We've been spotted," Vela announced, her voice tight with urgency. Kane slammed his fist against the control panel. "Damn it! Hold on tight. We're getting out of here." The chase that followed was nothing short of harrowing. The pursuing ships moved with terrifying speed, their weapons blazing trails of plasma that narrowly missed the fleeing vessel. Kane pushed the engines to their limits, weaving through the debris field left behind by the construct. Sparks flew inside the cockpit as stray bolts struck the hull, forcing Vela to reroute power to the shields. Elena clung to her seat, her heart pounding as explosions rocked the ship. "Can we outrun them?" she gasped, her voice barely audible over the din. "Not unless we find cover," Kane growled, his eyes darting across the viewport. Spotting a dense cluster of asteroids nearby, he veered sharply, plunging the ship into the chaotic maze of rock and dust. The pursuing vessels hesitated momentarily, their larger frames ill-suited for such tight maneuvers. "Now's our chance," Vela shouted, her hands flying over the controls. Together, she and Kane coordinated a series of evasive actions, using the asteroids as both obstacles and cover. Plasma bolts ricocheted off the rocky surfaces, lighting up the darkness with bursts of fiery brilliance. For several agonizing minutes, the chase continued, each twist and turn bringing them closer to escape or disaster. Finally, spotting a narrow gap between two massive asteroids, Kane gunned the engines, propelling the ship through the opening at breakneck speed. Behind them, one of the pursuing vessels misjudged the maneuver and collided with the rocks, erupting in a spectacular explosion. "That bought us some time," Kane muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "But not much," Vela added grimly. "They'll regroup soon." Elena exhaled shakily, her mind racing. They had survived for now. But how long could they keep running? And what would happen when they ran out of places to hide? With the immediate threat neutralized, the crew took stock of their situation. Damage reports indicated significant strain on the ship systems, particularly the shields and propulsion. Repairs were possible but would require time they didn't have. Worse still, the encounter had revealed vulnerabilities in their strategy, vulnerabilities that could doom the mission if left unaddressed. "We need a plan," Kane declared, his voice firm despite the exhaustion etched into his features. "Running won't solve anything. We need to hit them where it hurts." Vela frowned, considering the options. Direct confrontation is suicide. Even with reinforcements, we'd be outnumbered and outgunned. "Then we think smarter," Elena interjected, surprising herself with her boldness. "What if we target their weak points? Disrupt their operations without engaging directly?" The suggestion sparked a heated discussion, with each member contributing ideas. Eventually, they settled on a risky gambit: infiltrate the construct itself and sabotage its core mechanisms. It was a desperate move, fraught with peril, but it offered the best chance of tipping the scales in their favor. As they prepared for the infiltration, the weight of their decision hung heavy in the air. Success would mean salvation, failure, annihilation. The culmination of their efforts was moments away, and the outcome rested squarely on their shoulders. The infiltration unfolded with painstaking precision. Cloaked in shadow, the trio disembarked from the damaged ship and approached the construct's outer hull. Using tools scavenged from their vessel, they breached the reinforced plating, slipping inside undetected. The interior was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, illuminated by pulsating lights that cast eerie shadows on the walls. Their objective lay deep within the construct, guarded by layers of security measures. Navigating the maze proved challenging, requiring a combination of stealth, ingenuity, and sheer nerve. At one point, they narrowly avoided detection by hiding behind a bulkhead as a patrol of humanoid drones passed by. Another time, they triggered a malfunction in a surveillance drone, buying precious seconds to slip past unnoticed. Throughout the ordeal, Elena's role became increasingly vital. Her ability to interpret alien symbols and decode encrypted messages allowed them to bypass locked doors and disable alarm systems. Without her, they would have been caught long before reaching their destination. Finally, after what felt like hours, they arrived at the central chamber housing the construct's core. The sight was awe-inspiring. A massive sphere suspended in midair, radiating energy that hummed through the air like a living entity. Surrounding it were intricate networks of conduits and terminals, each pulsing with activity. "This is it," Kane breathed, his voice filled with equal parts wonder and dread. "Let's finish this." Sabotaging the core required careful coordination. Vela accessed the primary terminal, her fingers moving swiftly over the interface as she uploaded a virus designed to destabilize the construct's systems. Meanwhile, Kane positioned himself near the entrance, ready to fend off any intruders. Elena monitored the core's reactions, providing real-time updates based on subtle changes in its energy output. The process was agonizingly slow, each passing second stretching into eternity. Tension mounted as alerts began flashing across the terminal screens, signaling the construct's automated defenses kicking in. Mechanical arms descended from the ceiling, attempting to dismantle the intrusion. Vela cursed under her breath, her movements growing frantic as she fought to maintain control. "Almost there!" she shouted, beads of sweat forming on her brow. A sudden tremor shook the chamber, throwing everyone off balance. The core's energy surged unpredictably, bathing the room in blinding light. "It's fighting back!" Elena cried, her voice tinged with panic. Kane sprang into action, firing his weapon at the mechanical arms to buy Vela more time. His shots echoed loudly, drawing unwanted attention. Moments later, the sound of approaching footsteps confirmed their worst fears. They weren't alone anymore. "Hurry!" Kane barked, reloading his weapon. Vela's fingers danced across the terminal one final time. With a triumphant shout, she initiated the countdown. "Done! Let's go!" The trio sprinted through the corridors, the construct shaking violently around them. Alarms blared deafeningly, and sections of the walls began collapsing as the destabilization spread. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder, driving them to push harder despite their fatigue. Elena stumbled but quickly regained her footing, fueled by sheer adrenaline. "How much time do we have?" she panted, clutching her side. 2 minutes, Vela replied, sparing a glance at her wrist-mounted display. They reached the breach point just as the pursuing forces closed in. Kane turned, unleashing a barrage of fire to hold them at bay while Vela and Elena scrambled aboard the ship. Once everyone was inside, Kane leapt into the cockpit, slamming the throttle forward. The ship rocketed away from the construct, its engines roaring in protest. Through the viewport, they watched as the once majestic structure imploded, consumed by its own energy. A shock wave rippled outward, buffeting the ship despite its distance. "That should buy us some breathing room," Kane muttered, exhaling deeply. But their relief was short-lived. Scanners revealed remnants of the fleet converging on their position, drawn by the destruction. The fight was far from over. Returning to Viridian 7, the reconnaissance team delivered their report to the gathered delegations. The news of the sabotaged construct and the ongoing threat galvanized both factions, solidifying their resolve to unite against the common enemy. Plans for a coordinated counterattack took shape, blending human ingenuity with alien technology. Elena found herself thrust into a leadership role, her diplomatic skills proving invaluable in maintaining cohesion among the diverse groups. She worked tirelessly alongside Kane and Thaler, forging strategies that leveraged the strengths of both sides. As preparations intensified, personal sacrifices became inevitable. Relationships strained, loyalties tested. Yet, amidst the chaos, bonds formed that transcended species and ideology. The shared struggle fostered a newfound appreciation for cooperation, hinting at the possibility of lasting peace. The final battle unfolded on a grand scale, with fleets clashing amid the stars. Explosions lit up the cosmos, painting the void with bursts of color. Despite overwhelming odds, the Allied forces held their ground, driven by the knowledge that failure meant extinction. In the end, victory came at a cost. Ships were lost, lives sacrificed, but the combined effort succeeded in repelling the invaders, securing a fragile truce. As the dust settled, survivors gathered to honor the fallen and celebrate their hard-won triumph. Elena stood beside Kane and Thaler, gazing out at the battered but resilient fleet. "This isn't the end," she said softly. "It's a beginning." And so, amidst the wreckage of war, hope took root, a testament to the power of unity in the face of adversity. Don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling stories like this one.